Hello and welcome back to episode 4 already of the I Know About It Sports podcast. I am your host, Noah Arnold, and we have Hello and welcome back to episode 4 already of the I Know About It Sports podcast. I am your host, Noah Arnold, and we have a bit of a jam-packed episode once again in what's been a very jam-packed first week of content. 4 episodes in the first week is a lot more than what I expected. I expected to only do like maybe an episode a week, if that, but we got a lot to talk about. This, I said October, busiest time of the year when it comes to sports, and we have a jam-packed episode. I will preview the WNBA Finals, which Game 1 tips off in about an hour as I'm recording this. So meaning when you listen to it, Game 1 will probably already be wrapped up. I'll also predict Week 7 of the college football season. Last week did okay, I guess. So we'll see how it goes this week. It's been a bit of more of a high-profile week than the chaotic week of last week. But yeah, firstly, as I said, top of the order. We'll get top off of the game that will be tipping off tonight, which in Barclays Center, Brooklyn, New York, between the New York Liberty and Minnesota Lynx. New York Liberty, second straight year in the finals. This is the 5th time they've been in the finals. They're one of the original WNBA teams that are still around, but they've never won. They're 0-5 all time in the finals. They look to avoid going 0-6. But this is a team that was called a super team. They are stacked up with talent, mainly their big three of two-time champion and 2020 Finals MVP Breonna Stewart, of course, one of the greatest collegiate players of all time. It's now already become one of the greatest WNBA players of all time, seeking her 3rd championship, first with the Liberty. She is keeping her regular season averages of 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, and a block a game. Very impressive to keep your season stats in a playoff environment. Sabrina Ionescu, she's reminding people that, hey, before Caitlin Clark was around, the guard pulling up from deep, firing away deep bombs left, right, and center. It was me. It was me doing that. I was originally the most hyped up prospect heading to the WNBA since Candace Parker. And she is hopefully going to remind people of that here in these finals. She has definitely done that in the playoffs. She has been electric in the playoffs, up and up all of her categories and every single statistic, especially her efficiency. She has shot up over 10% in both field goal and three-point percentage. She's looking to cap off a year that's seen her win Olympic gold. She went head-to-head with Steph Curry on All-Star Saturday night, was just one shot away from beating the greatest shooter of all time in a three-point contest. I mean, what the heck is that about? And she also got married this year, so she wins a title. Probably would be one of the best years anybody's ever had, really. And also coming off kind of the third wheel of this story, their third wheel of the 2021 MVP of the league, Jonquel Jones. So yeah, they have the 2021 MVP as their third option. This is basically the WNBA's version of the late 2010s Warriors. The thing is, but they've yet to win a title. That's been the thing. They've yet to win a championship. Can they finally do it here? And I think Jones will be the X factor if the Liberty can get their first championship. Yeah, while the Liberty, best team in the league, have dominated the regular season as they were expected to, the Lynx, they're the second best team in the WNBA in the regular season. They were not expected to get here. They went 19-21 last year. Expectations were middling of the pack. 50-1 odds to win it all. But Napheja Collier, my God, MVP runner-up, defensive player of the year, has just absolutely broken off in the superstardom. If it wasn't for, your Asia having the most dominant season in the history of the league, Caitlin Clark having the best rookie season, one of the best rookie seasons in sports history, Angel Reese doing what she was doing, you would have heard a lot more about Napheja Collier. She has been electric, to say the least, averaging 27-10 in these playoffs as well. And they dominated the Connecticut Sun to get here in Game 5 to get here. But yeah, Minnesota, this is kind of their rebound. They're tied for the most championships in the 2010s. They won 4 titles in about a 5-year stretch, with Maya Moore in the squad. But ever since 2018 and Maya Moore's, shocking retirement when she went off to be a social activist, as she does now, they finally managed to have their comeback moment this year as a franchise. It's great to see them rebuild and get back to where they are. Kind of like the Minnesota Timberwolves, their Twin City brethren. And outside of Collier, this is no slouch of a team. They have one of the most consistent starting lineups in the W, including with a backcourt of Courtney Williams and Kayla McBride. Of course, Williams being one of the best shooters in the W as well. This series is going to be decided on how well Jonquel Jones of the Liberty can slow down the Fiji Collier. And we're also, which team can outshoot the other. Both teams rely heavily on the 3-ball with Sabrina Ionescu and Leonie Febick, who Febick currently leads the WNBA in 3-point percentage in the playoffs. She's averaging 59. She's shooting 59% from downtown. I mean, my God, if you have an average NBA center and you see what their shots around the basket are, she's basically kind of shooting Shaq dunk numbers, but from 3. She has been incredible from downtown in these playoffs, and can they keep that momentum going? On the other side, the Lynx, in the regular season, they shot 38% as a team. That was top in the league. And, of course, they have that backcourt of Williams and as well as Collier's a beast from downtown as well. That whichever team can win that percentage battle win the series. And who I think win the series, when you think of moments like this, I have to lead with the big stars and the big pressure moments here. They were expected to get here. This is kind of a revenge season for them after last year's disappointing end of the season in the finals. And so I'm going with the Liberty and to finally get over the hump in their 6th time in the finals. It took them 6 times, but I think they're going to finally win a championship for the city of New York. And I think what's going to come down to is Stewie's prowess inside. I think it's something that Minnesota simply has no counter for. They have no players that can stop Stewie down low. I think she's going to create a lot of second chance opportunities for the red hot Sabrina Ionescu. So she's going to remind everybody when she was coming out of Oregon why she was as highly regarded as she was. And my pick is Liberty in 4, and I think Ionescu will win Finals MVP. Gonna lock that in there. Moving on to the college football Week 7 predictions. I said we predict 10 games every week. Had a pretty good start to the season as of now, but now, we're in almost mid-October. It is cold. It's not cold, but it's pretty chilly outside here in beautiful Columbia, South Carolina. Well, technically I am in the Blythewood, South Carolina area, best part of the state. And, this is kind of where, we find out the boys from the men, the pretenders from the contenders. And we're going to find out late Friday night. The Utah Utes traveled to Tempe to play Arizona State. Arizona State's one of the breakout teams of this early college football season. They're coming off, but on the other side, coming off a bye week and a loss, Utah will finally get Cam Rising back at quarterback for them finally. He has been hurt for so long. He tries to come back and he gets hurt again. Is this going to finally be the consistency that Utah looks for? But if Cam Rising's healthy, which he will play this game, Utah is one of the best teams in the country. And I think that Utah's going to remind everybody why they were the preseason favorite to win the Big 12 and go to the playoffs. And so, Rising's playing. I'm going with the Utes on late Friday night, ESPN. High noon, ABC, Gamecocks of South Carolina take on the Alabama Crimson Tide, coming off the worst loss in program history, the worst loss the state of this Alabama scene since Ulysses S. Grant came to town in 1865. And Simply put, Carolina last week had to play a pissed-off Ole Miss team coming off an embarrassing loss. Now they got to go down to Tuscaloosa to play another team that's pissed off coming off an even more embarrassing loss. Carolina just simply has no shot to win this game. Simply put, they have no chance. I mean, crazy things happen in college football. This is a decent Carolina team. They're not bad. Some people say they're bad, but I don't think they're that bad. I think they're a solid football team. However put it, they're going to get beat. We have not seen Cox get beaten like this since I'm going to hold my tongue. But the Cox will get beat hard down in Alabama. And I'm not just talking about, never mind. Texas and Oklahoma, 3:30 ABC, the 120th time that the Red River Shootout has been played. And for the first time, it will be in the SEC. Features number one team in the land, Texas Longhorns. They've been insanely impressive to start this season. And they take on an 18th ranked Oklahoma team who has been completely an offensive bomb. I mean, they're 4-1. They had that one tough loss at home to Tennessee. They, as I said, been offensively challenged. And now on to their second quarterback. Jackson Arnold has now been the second worst Arnold of 2024. Shots fired. Michael Hawkins Jr., true freshman, makes his second career start. He's an 18-year-old true freshman, and he's being thrown into the fire more than Anakin Skywalker was. He is taking on the number one team in the country. They've been dominant all year. And now he's got to go up in this environment at the Texas State Fair in front of 90,000. Listen, weird things happen in the Red River. But there's not going to be no love for Oklahoma on Saturday because Oklahoma, they just don't have the firepower to keep up with this Longhorn team. I'm going with Texas. It's a 14.5-point spread. I'm going with them to cover. Penn State, USC, 3:30 CBS. We'll have the CBS theme song playing in Los Angeles once again, and that makes me upset. What also makes me upset, Penn State, for some peculiar reasons, the fourth best team in the country. They're not. Now, Drew Aller's stats make him look good, but if you actually watch him play, you know he's not very good. On the other side, Miller Moss had a great start to his tenure as a USC starting quarterback. In his first three starts, which were going back to the bowl game last year, and the first two games of this season, he's been tremendous. 3-0 as a starter, 72% completion percentage. Last three games he's played, 1-2 as a starter, 63% completion percentage, 4 interceptions. And not only that, but his yards per completion and his air yards are down, meaning he's not throwing the ball deep as much as he used to. USC has one of the worst O-lines in the country. Penn State has one of the best D-lines in the country. USC has struggled to run the ball this year, and Penn State has just run it down people's throats. You know, which that can happen when we have these cross-country trips all the way from Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, the land of great ice cream and very questionable locker room standards. Just don't Google Michael Parsons' Penn State locker room. And you're going to be traveling across the country to Hollywood to play the Trojans. But I'm going with Penn State to win this one. This is a bad matchup for the Trojans. This is the worst matchup for the Trojans in my usual Saturday nights. Cal takes on Pitt. This was rough for Cal. Both teams had a great start to the season relative to what their expectations were. But Cal, game day last week, the whole country was, hopefully most of the country that wasn't asleep was watching them last week. And they blew it to Miami. The Coke defeated the Woke. And unfortunately, they have to have that tough loss, and they have to go back across the country to play a scrappy 5-0 Pittsburgh team led by Alabama cast-off Eli Holston. And unfortunately, that for the Calgorithm and for the Woke agenda, I just can't see how this team coming off that loss can travel across the country to play this hard-nosed, scrappy, red-hot football team led by Pat Narduzzi as a coach. And this is going to be the worst loss for the Woke agenda since the 2016 election. And so I'm going with the Pittsburgh Panthers to win this ball game. 7 o'clock, ESPN, Florida and Tennessee. First game of the season, Florida looked dead in the water just to start the season. we were making bets whether Billy Napier could last till the midway point of October. Heck, we were hoping he could make it out of September as the head coach. But he's managed to ride the ship a little bit. They had a hot game against Mississippi State, bye week, and then they smacked down UCF a week ago. Graham Mertz is second in the country completion percentage at 72%. We'll get to who's number one in the next section, but most people probably don't know he had second best completion percentage in the country. He's a veteran. He's proven that he's not intimidated by a road environment. And for personal experience, I was there in Williams-Brice last year when he had that crazy comeback to beat the Gamecocks. And Tennessee has looked pretty bad offensively when they're not playing a local community college or NC State, which kind of doubles as one these days. Vols top 5 of the country in rushing, while the Gator defense is near the bottom. They're 101 in the country in rushing defense. Florida, Tennessee's always something weird happens in this game every year between these two teams. And I think that's going to happen here. I think Tennessee barely squeaks this one out, but it's a 14.5-point spread in Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. And I think it's going to be a lot closer than that. I think Mertz manages to keep Florida in the game long enough, but it's going to be low scoring, hard fought. But I'm going with the Vols here. The game of the week, currently the highest ranked game we're probably going to have all regular season. The second-ranked Buckeyes travel across the country to Eugene, Oregon, the land of Nike and Ducks, to take on the third-ranked Oregon Ducks. Neither team has had any sort of high-level competition outside of Boise State playing Oregon in Week 2, where the Broncos nearly knocking off the Ducks. Ohio State has had vanilla play calling all year because they simply just haven't had to do anything spectacular offensively. They just steamrolled over some easy competition. And so, I think first half of this game, Ohio State also comes out a little bit vanilla with Kayshawn Judkins and 18th-year senior, feels like, Travion Henderson looking to tire out, kind of make that Oregon defense start to cheat up a little bit. And so I think once we get to mid to late second quarter, I think the pass game opens up for Will Howard and this all-star receiver group. I think that's when we start to see fireworks from both teams. It's going to be about mid to late second quarter. Talk about the other side. Dylan Gabriel, the two-time transfer on his third collegiate program. He may look to get a job after this. Left-hander, he leads the country completion percentage at 78%. But I've never been a big Dylan Gabriel guy. I'm not really a fan of left-handed quarterbacks. It's the only time I'm not really into leftism. And so I think he gets caught off guard a little bit. I think he throws 2 interceptions in this game. I think the Buckeyes win in Eugene 35-31. Ole Miss taking on LSU in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's a 50-50 toss-up this game. It always is every year between these two teams. And there's also a 50-50 toss-up whether or not a person picked out of the fan base is an inbred or not. But I digress. LSU's secondary has been very questionable this season. They're going up against an explosive Ole Miss pass defense. But Ole Miss has not experienced a hostile stadium pulse type environment, as the Carolina game was over fairly quickly last week. Over in about midway first quarter, it was over. If you look at the matchups and stats, Ole Miss simply just runs the table here against LSU. However, it's just always something with rivalry games. A night game at Baton Rouge against the LSU team coming off a bye and a cupcake win the week before. They will be well-rested. Ole Miss is playing their 7th consecutive game. So, while I really want to go with the Bayou Bengals, I'm picking Ole Miss. They're going to have just enough firepower to overcome Garrett Nussmeier and this Tiger team. 8 o'clock on Fox. Iowa State travels to Morgantown, beautiful Morgantown, West Virginia, take on the Mountaineers. Everybody wonders, this year the Cyclones of Iowa State finally break out? They have the top defense in college football so far this season. They're on the road at night to take on a West Virginia team that is they are consistently inconsistent under Neil Brown. And, all logic with this Iowa State team suggests that they're going to shut down this Garrett Green and C.J. Donaldson-led offense for the Mountaineers. They're going to pull this game off, but this is college football. Weird shit happens all the time. And so I'm going with the Mountaineers of West Virginia. I think West Virginia is going to, they're going to take the mountain roads all the way home to a W. But I just hope Bob Huggins is not on those roads they take down on Saturday night. Late night game, 10 o'clock, ESPN. Kansas State travels to Boulder, Colorado to take on the Buffaloes. Both teams have had a really bad road loss on their schedule, but have rebounded tremendously since then. With Kansas State, they got blown out by BYU. And with Colorado, week 2, they got blown out on the road by Nebraska. But last week, Kansas State rebounded from that loss against Oklahoma State. That's the hardest that anybody smacked the state of Oklahoma since the Civil Rights Act did. And with Colorado winning and blew out UCF on the road, despite being a 2-touchdown underdog in that game, this game is going to have plenty of star power, plenty of firepower. Avery Johnson, only quarterback in the country to throw for over 800 yards and run for 300 yards so far this season. And for Colorado, everybody knows Shedeur Sanders, perfect timing, and Travis Hunter, the two-way superstar for the Buffs. Colorado is on a roll so far this season. And as we know, the state of Colorado loves themselves a good high. And so I'm going with the Buffaloes to pull off the upset over the 17th-ranked Kansas State Wildcats. Almost 22 minutes. 22 minutes, I'm already done? God, wow. It took me over an hour to gush about The Rock and CM Punk last week. But, yeah, so, 22 minutes. You know what? It's like a substitute teacher day. It's a weather day. I'll let y'all go off just a little bit early, a tad bit early. As I said, you have any comments you want to say them now. You can always hit me up on Twitter and Instagram, which is both at PrimeNoah24. You can hit me up on Snapchat, Noah_Arnold24. For any sort of questions you'd like to read me off on the show, or any suggestions you have for the show. And one of those was a women's basketball episode. I was probably not even going to consider the WNBA Finals, but I did. And you know what? I know enough about the women's college basketball. Or not college basketball. I know a lot about the women's college basketball. I follow the WNBA all year. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, why wouldn't I talk about the WNBA Finals? It's been the best season that the W has had ever. Just as long as you ignore Twitter discourse or Fox News discourse or whatever other discourse you want to say. People want to use so-and-so as a surrogate for our other argument. And so, yeah, so I'll probably be doing, I'll probably have a little bit more of a 2-episode-a-week schedule unless there's let's say a WWE pay-per-view. I know AEW has a show this coming Saturday, but I'm not going to have a review about it. I may have a talk here and there, but, it's been good. It's been good. Just today I had an exam. I thought I failed it and got an 87. Life's been pretty good. So, yeah, I'll probably continue to have 2 episodes a week covering college football specifically, and then maybe occasional special episode for NBA's coming up. I know we have the college basketball scene coming up, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, outside of Clemson in South Carolina, I really don't pay attention that much to men's college basketball anymore. It just hasn't been as entertaining the last couple years. The tournaments have still been good. Don't get me wrong. I still watch almost every tournament game I can, but just the women's scene, they just have a lot more star power, a lot more enjoyment, a lot more storylines, if you will. And so I'm really excited about that this upcoming year. The NBA is wide open. Thank God it's finally wide open. For my almost entire childhood, it was just dynasties and whatnot, and now it feels like the NBA's more level playing than it ever has been. I'm excited for the Hawks to get the 7th seed and be a first round out. We are. I just know we're going to do that. And so, yeah, enjoy. I'll probably have another episode up probably Monday or Tuesday night. I love you all. Mwah. Goodbye. And I'll see you next time on the I Know About It Sports Podcast. Let me just get an epilogue in here real quick. I recorded that episode in the closet so I can get better sound quality. That way I was not underneath like a blanket or something to get better sound, whatever, that they try to teach me in school. And let me tell you, my foot's completely asleep. I have been standing in the same spot, holding onto my closet door for 25 minutes now. My foot is not awake yet. So, I guess it's a metaphor for some of y'all. Just don't stay in the closet for too long, guys. Okay, eventually you got to come out the closet. Okay, it's just the fact of life. Okay, guys. All right, y'all have a good one.